Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital YouTube channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Sunny's bodyguard was keeping watch at the Jerome Gallery while Ava and a young woman called Donna discussed the fundraiser that had taken place earlier that evening and carefully placed a large artwork on a table. Ava argued that it was late and asked the bodyguard to take Donna to her car despite Donna's offer to stay and assist her. A man entered the back room through the alleyway after Donna, and the bodyguard departed. Ava turned to face the bodyguard, assuming he had returned, but she hesitated before saying anything. A hand covered Ava's mouth before she could cry out. Ava pushed Nicholas away from her and asked him to explain his actions. Nicholas questioned, surprised. They started arguing right away because Ava was not amused. Nicholas reaffirmed to Ava that the room was soundproof as she threatened to call for the bodyguard. There was no harm in his presence, he reassured her. With a mocking tone, Ava questioned, "Stealing my daughter wouldn't hurt me?" According to Nicholas, he was upset because Ava had allied with Spencer to take his newborn away from him, and he wanted Ava to understand how it had felt. He hurried to reassure her, though, that he had never meant to carry out the threat. Ava didn't change her mind, but she did want to know if Nicholas had killed Austin, and if he was the one who had the notes and the pistol. Nicholas appeared sincere in his confusion over the notes and the rifle, and he denied any involvement in Austin's demise. Unexpectedly, Ava trusted him. When Ava questioned Nicholas about his whereabouts at her gallery, he replied that he had learned of Austin's passing and that, with Mason behind bars, no one would be keeping an eye on her. Ava was duped by Austin and his boss, Nicholas pointed out, and he apologized for hurting her feelings, but he acknowledged that he had wanted to talk to her to hash things out. Agreeing, Ava informed Nicholas that Ryan had dispatched Esme to destroy them, thus it hadn't been the first time. Ava gave in to the fact that she had loved Nicholas since he had told her he had, but she argued that their issues had gone beyond the mental games Ryan and Esme were playing, and she thought it was inevitable that she and Nicholas would have a heartbreaking ending. Nicholas began to object, but Ava clarified that it had been too much after his infidelity with Esme and his threats to kidnap Avery. "There's no coming back from that. Ever," Ava replied. Their love was toxic, nasty, and rotten at its core, according to Ava. Nicholas apologized once more, and he and Ava both felt that Ryan had received his just desserts. Nicholas said, "So, what if we make sure Esme gets hers too?" Tracy arrived at the Quartermain home and walked into the living room, complaining about the cacophony she had heard during the New Year's Eve countdown. While acknowledging that her mother and Olivia had argued, Brooklyn purposefully avoided giving specifics. Tracy pretended to be worried that Lois may pack up and go, but when her phone kept buzzing with notifications, Brooklyn got sidetracked. Tracy attempted to brush it off as a non-issue, but Brooklyn thought her grandmother could be concealing something. Brooklyn grabbed Tracy's phone and began reading through Tracy's texts before Tracy could stop her. When Brooklyn noticed a large number of texts from Scott, she was taken aback. Brooklyn teasingly said that Tracy was lonely, and Lucy had been right. Although Brooklyn reassured Tracy that it was acceptable for Tracy to want to have some fun with Scott, Tracy was not amused. Tracy said that Scott was inundating her with unsolicited text messages, but she denied that there was any communication between them. Brooklyn reminded Tracy that she had the authority to order Scott to cease. After reading through a couple of the texts, Brooklyn grinned, realizing that Scott had been making out with Tracy. Chase showed up a little while later to pick up Brooklyn. She was eager to get home, so she was happy to see him. She did not elaborate when she told him that her mother had caused difficulties in 2 different situations. Chase reassured Brooklyn that no one could tell Lois what to do because Lois made her own decisions and that she felt horrible about seeing her while she was in town. Chase recommended that they take the champagne bottle they had previously opened and head back home. Brooklyn concurred, but not before alerting him to Tracy's flirtatious behavior with Scott in the living room. Tracy denied any flirting, but she did hear Brooke Lynn tell Chase about the texts from Scott. After snatching the phone from Tracy, Brooke Lynn handed it to Chase, who quickly glanced through the texts and acknowledged that Scott had been making out. Even though Tracy clarified that Scott was purely focused on making money, Brooke Lynn mentioned that Tracy and Scott had previously had a thing. It was a regrettable dalliance, according to Tracy, who also insisted that Scott did not live up to her high expectations. Tracy's prior boyfriends, which included 2 mob figures and a serial killer, were promptly enumerated by Brooke Lynn. Tracy cautioned her granddaughter not to group Luke with the others when Brooke Lynn brought up Luke. Brooke Lynn gave her grandmother comfort, saying that she wished Tracy happiness and a fulfilling life. To demonstrate to Tracy that her pals were out and enjoying the festivities, she pulled up a few of their social media accounts. Brooke Lynn let it go and gave Tracy a big hug because Tracy was getting tense. Following Brooke Lynn and Chase's departure, Tracy accessed Laura's social media profile. Tracy saw Scott and Lucy at the bar, bend over Scott's phone, as she peered at a picture taken earlier that evening. Tracy grinned. "You got it," she said. Lucy went over to Scott at the bar at the Port Charles Grill and inquired as to whether he had begun to win Tracy over. Scott boasted, "I have Tracy right where I want her." He clarified that he and Tracy had been texting back and forth, and everything was going great. Scott remarked, "I think I'm actually flirting with her." They had decided that he would court Tracy gradually so as not to raise Tracy's suspicions. Therefore, Lucy was not happy. Lucy wanted Scott to gradually extend an invitation to Tracy for a trip to Las Vegas, where he would treat her to fine dining, marry her, and provide her with delicacies. Lucy was cautioned by Scott that the idea was doomed because Luke had previously duped Tracy into marriage over a wild weekend in Las Vegas. Tracy was known to make the same mistakes over and over, so Lucy wasn't worried. Scott let Lucy to view his text messages to Tracy while they plotted. Lucy felt that he was showing signs of being overly open. Kevin, Laura, and Martin were seated at an adjacent table in the meantime. Laura remarked, "Looks like Scott got waylaid by Lucy." Following Lucy's ordeal with Blair Kramer and the alimony payments, Martin reassured his sister that he was not worried and that Lucy deserved his trust. Martin maintained that he owed Lucy the same tolerance when handling her ex-husbands that she had shown him, since his third ex-wife had embarrassed the other 2. Kevin said, "You could," with caution. Laura made the decision to change course and snapped a picture of the 3 of them for her Facebook page. Martin decided it was time to head off, as he had a planned call to Singapore. After the 3 of them grinned for the camera, he got up, gave Lucy a wave, and walked away. Laura was cautioned by Kevin that if Lucy and Scott were discussing something, it was never a good sign. Laura's phone rang at that moment. Lucas Jones was the one. Laura was talking on the phone in the bar when Scott and Lucy observed the shocked expression on her face. Laura had just hung up the phone as they approached. Laura gazed at Scott, tears welling up in her eyes. Laura replied softly, "Scotty, I'm so sorry, but Bobby passed away." Scott and Lucy sat there in shock as Laura told them that Lucas had called to ask for Lucky's number. Laura said that Carly hadn't told the children yet, and Scott and Lucy promised not to tell anyone. Lucy cried as she remembered Bobby's generosity following BJ has passed away. Although Laura acknowledged that she and Bobby had had disagreements in the past, she would always treasure their close relationship. "Bobby was a sister to me. Luke or no Luke, I loved her," Laura stated. Scott said that he had also loved Bobby. "I still do," he declared. Scott claimed that while he and Bobby had gotten along well, they had not been able to sustain their good times. He thought back to his relationship with Bobby and speculated that maybe it wasn't meant to be. Laura implied that their relationship had been more profound than that, an inexpressible bond. "Your lifelong companion," Lucy proposed. Kevin conceded that it was a perfect description of Bobby. Subsequently, Kevin, Laura, Scott, and Lucy lifted their glasses in celebration of Bobby, the center of Port Charles, according to Scott. Kevin remarked, "Haven got a little more special tonight." With tears in his eyes, Scott gazed up to Laura's emotional agreement. Scott remarked, "Until I see you again, Bobby." They clapped their glasses together and said, "To Bobby," together. Michael informed an enraged Sonny at the Savoy that Nina had denounced Drew and Carly to the SEC. Willow came in at the same moment as Nina. Michael advised that they go so that Sonny and Nina could have some privacy after Willow insisted on knowing what was going on. Sonny made the point that since everything was in the open, it wasn't essential. Sonny inquired if Nina had ratted out Drew and Carly, and Nina fought back tears. Nana murmured in a low voice, "I'm so sorry." Nina hadn't denied it, and Sonny was happy about that. Willow was shocked to learn that the charge had been accurate. Willow questioned, "You set this whole nightmare in motion?" Willow flinched away from Nina as she attempted to explain, admonishing her not to approach her. Without delay, Nina retreated and turned to give Sonny an explanation. Though Nina tried to justify herself, Sonny was not buying it. She told him that she had been on her way to the Savoy to tell him everything. "I just want to know why." "Why, Nina? Do you hate the mother of my children so much that you'd want to send her to prison, out of spite?" Sonny responded, though Nina insisted that she didn't tip off the SEC out of pure spite. Sonny didn't buy it. Although she acknowledged that it had contributed, she clarified that Willow had been terminally ill. "And the whole time, Carly knew I was her mother," Nina replied. Nina insisted that Liesl could have given her bone marrow sooner if Carly had been honest. Willow yelled, "Don't you dare make this about me." Nina revealed that she had been worried that she would lose Willow to the cancer for years, and that she had been looking for her daughter. Although Sonny accepted that Nina had every right to be upset with Carly, he couldn't figure out why Nina had included Michael and Ned in the conflict. Willow questioned, "What?" Michael told his father that was okay, even though Sonny apologized to him. Willow, who was incensed, insisted on knowing how long Michael had known the truth about Nina. Michael replied that he found out shortly after Sonny and Nina's wedding. Willow stormed away, shocked that Michael had concealed the truth from her for months. Even after Michael met up with Willow on Pier 54, her ire remained unabashed. She was furious that he was aware of her mother's deceit and that he had allowed Ned to be held accountable for Nina's actions. Willow was upset that Michael was using her as an excuse and called him out for being just as wicked as Nina, even though Michael had been attempting to protect her. Willow claimed that he should have told her the truth straight away, that she wasn't a wilting flower who needed to be protected from the outside world. Michael questioned, "Like you told me the truth about your cancer diagnosis." That he would toss that in her face surprised Willow. Michael expressed regret, but clarified that he had been attempting to shield Willow from Nina's reality in the same manner that Willow had attempted to shield him from the truth of her cancer. While Willow disputed that she and Nina were close since Nina consistently canceled plans and avoided family vacations, he acknowledged that he had witnessed how close they had become. Willow was talking when she suddenly understood that Michael had kept Nina's secret for another reason. She remembered how chilly he had always become whenever Nina's name was raised. When Nina returned to the Savoy and attempted to pursue Willow, Sonny informed her that she had already caused enough harm. He said, "Don't you think?" Sonny was unconvinced by Nina's assurance that she had regretted what she had done when she had called about Drew and Carly. He reminded her of the harm she had done, especially to Scout, who had to experience the loss of her father once more following Drew's imprisonment. Nina sobbed. "I wasn't thinking about that. Drew nearly passed away," Sonny explained. Thanks for watching if you liked this video. So please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.